I shot my brother in the knee that night, right there in the kitchen of our childhood home in that godforsaken strip of Rust Belt, Ohio. The kind of place where factories cough up their last breaths and dreams go to die in cul-de-sacs lined with foreclosure signs. The bullet tore through his jeans like it was nothing personal. But hell, it was the most personal thing I'd done in years, his scream echoing off the Formica counters we'd scrubbed 1,000 times as kids, blood pooling on the linoleum Mom had picked out from Sears back when life still pretended to give a damn. And as he writhed, clutching his leg like a kid who'd skinned his knee on the playground, I leaned in close, the .38 still smoking in my grip, and whispered, "This is for the 12 years I rotted in that cell for your screw-up, Tommy. Welcome to payback. It wasn't always like this." Back then, in 2012, I was 22. Fresh out of community college with a welding cert and stars in my eyes, thinking the world owed me a corner office or at least a steady gig at the mill. Our family ran Russo's Auto Salvage, a junkyard on the edge of Youngstown that Dad had clawed from the dirt after Mom left him with nightmares and a limp. It was the kind of place where you'd find rusted Fords stacked like Jenga towers, and the air smelled like burnt rubber and regret. Tommy was the golden boy, 2 years younger, all charm and cheekbones, the one who could talk his way out of a ticket or into a girl's pants with that crooked grin. Me? I was the muscle, the one who lifted the transmissions and balanced the books when Dad's hands shook too bad from the whiskey. The betrayal hit like a freight train derailing in slow motion. One Tuesday in July, the feds rolled up in their unmarked SUVs, badges flashing like they were auditioning for a Scorsese flick. They had warrants for fraud, cooking the books, siphoning parts to chop shops down in Pittsburgh. The works. Dad had been skimming for years to keep the lights on, but it was Tommy who'd taken it too far, wiring cash to offshore accounts for some half-baked crypto scheme that blew up in his face. I found the ledgers hidden in his glove box. Numbers that didn't add up. Emails to shady brokers with subject lines like, "Quick flip, don't tell Pops." When the heat came down, Tommy cornered me in the back office, eyes wide like a cornered raccoon. "Jake, you're the one with the clean record. Take the fall." "Month." "5 years. Tops." "I'll make it right, send you cash. Get you a lawyer when you're out. Family first, right? Family." That word hung in the air like exhaust fumes, choking me. Dad was dying of cancer, tubes snaking into his arms at the VA hospital, and Mom was 1 bad month from losing the house. I thought of the junkyard, the American dream we'd all bought into, the bootstraps, the second chances. So I signed the plea deal. 15 years, reduced to 12 with good behavior. Tommy walked free, inherited the yard, turned it into a legit operation overnight. Clean as a whistle. Prison was a different beast. Chillicothe Federal. Medium security. But it might as well have been hell's waiting room. Showers that reeked of bleach and despair. Nights listening to cons trade stories of wives who left and kids who forgot their faces. I got inked up, a candle in a window on my forearm. A stupid symbol from a letter Mom sent early on. "Light this for us, Jake. It'll guide you home." She died while I was inside. Heart attack from the stress. Buried next to Dad, without me there to shovel the dirt. Tommy sent cards at first, pictures of the yard, thriving. Him with a new truck. "Miss you, bro. Hang tight." Then they stopped. Last one. Year 5. Sold the place. Starting fresh in Cleveland. Love ya. Out on parole in 2024. The world had moved on without me. Smartphones everywhere. TikTok dances in the gas station lines. Biden out, and whoever the hell was in now promising the same old nothing. I crashed on a buddy's couch in Akron, flipping burgers at White Castle for $8 an hour. The grease soaking into my skin like the regrets I couldn't wash off.
Tommy?
He'd flipped the salvage gig into a chain of eco-friendly scrapyards, greenwashing the rust for millennial investors. Saw his face on a billboard once. Russo recycles, sustainable tomorrow starts today. Hypocrite. He'd married some yoga instructor named Kendra. Popped out a kid. Lived in a McMansion with a 3-car garage. I drove by one night, parked in the shadows, watched him grill steaks in the backyard, laughing like he hadn't sold his brother's soul for a down payment. That's when the candles started flickering again. Not the tattoo, the real one. I bought a cheap tea light at Dollar General, lit it in the window of my shitty studio apartment overlooking the Cuyahoga River. That toxic ribbon of water Clevelanders joked about catching fire. It was a signal, or maybe just spite. If Tommy ever wondered what became of me, he'd see it burning and know I was still here, waiting. Months turned to a year. I scraped by, took night classes at the community college, criminal justice, ironic as hell, got my CDL, hauled freight cross-state, built muscle in a gym that smelled like sweat and broken promises, learned to shoot at a range out in the sticks. Anger simmered, not the hot rage of youth, but a cold boil, the kind that calcifies into bone. Then, last fall, the call came. Unknown number, but the area code was home. Jake, it's Kendra. Tommy's. He's in trouble. Big trouble. You gotta come. For the family. Her voice cracked, that polished Pilates tone fraying at the edges. Trouble. The word tasted like irony on my tongue. I hung up, stared at the candle's flame dancing in the drafty window. Blew it out for the first time in months. Grabbed my keys, the .38 from the lockbox, parole be damned, and hit the interstate east toward Youngstown. Payback wasn't a word anymore. It was a destination. The drive was 3 hours of blacktop blurring under sodium lights, FM radio spitting out ads for mesothelioma lawyers and erectile dysfunction cures. My mind replayed the prison yard fights, the shank scars on my ribs from a guy who thought I owed him protection money. Tommy's face morphed in the rearview, boyish grin to smug executive. Always one step ahead, flipping the script like a card shark. By the time I pulled into the old neighborhood, dawn was breaking over the shuttered mills, painting the sky the color of faded glory. Their house was a colonial knockoff on a cul-de-sac called Heritage Heights, irony squared. I parked down the block, watched Kendra pace the porch in yoga pants and a hoodie, phone glued to her ear. She spotted me, froze, then waved me over like I was the Uber. Jake. Thank God. He's inside. It's bad. Bad was an understatement. Tommy lay sprawled on the living room sectional, leg propped on pillows, a fresh bandage seeping red around the knee. His eyes met mine, widened in that old raccoon panic. Jake? What the, how'd you? I didn't let him finish. The gun was out before I thought it, barrel kissing his kneecap like a lover's whisper. The shot was muffled by the suppressor I'd picked up off a guy in Canton, parole violation number 2. But who was counting? His scream was pure animal, raw and ragged, cutting through the baby monitor static from upstairs. Kendra gasped, hand over mouth. But she didn't run. Smart girl. Or maybe just numb. You took everything, I said, voice steady as the river I'd left behind. My freedom. My family. My goddamn life. Now we're even. He gasped through the pain, sweat beading on his forehead.
Jake. Please.
It wasn't. I didn't mean. Save it for the cops. I holstered the piece, glanced at Kendra. Call 911. Tell M it was a home invasion. I'll be gone by the time they get here. She nodded, tears streaking her face. But there was something else in her eyes. Relief? Gratitude? As I turned for the door, Tommy croaked out.
Wait.
The candle.
I saw it.
From the road. That's why I was coming to you. To fix it. Liar. Always the flip. But as I stepped into the chill Ohio morning, engine rumbling to life, I couldn't shake the hook in his voice. The candle. He'd seen it after all these years. And just like that, the payback I'd planned for so long felt like the opening act. Driving away from that blood-soaked suburb, the sun climbing like it had somewhere to be, I felt the weight of the gun in my jacket like a stone in my gut. Sirens wailed in the distance already. Kendra was efficient. I'd give her that, and I merged onto I-80 West. No destination. Just motion. The candle tattoo itched under my sleeve, a phantom burn reminding me why I'd lit the damn thing in the first place. Not for hope. Not really. For haunting. For making sure Tommy knew I was out there. A ghost in the machine of his perfect life. I holed up in a no-tell motel off the turnpike in Erie, Pennsylvania, the kind with vibrating beds and stains on the carpet that told stories no one wanted to hear. Paid cash. Used the fake ID from my hauling days. Jake Harlan. Trucker from nowhere. The clerk. A guy with a Packers jersey stretched over his beer gut. Didn't bat an eye. Checkout's 11.
No bits.
No drama. Drama. That's what my life had become, a B-movie revenge flick scripted by the ghosts of blue-collar America. I cracked a warm Coors from the mini-fridge. Paced the room with the TV droning Fox News, some senator railing about border walls and fentanyl. The same old circus. My phone buzzed. Burner. Untraceable. Kendra's text. He's stable. Cop spotted. But Jake. He wants to talk. About the real reason. The real reason. Tommy's specialty, layering lies like coats of primer on a rusted chassis. I powered down, stared at the flickering neon vacancy sign bleeding red through the blinds. Sleep came in fits. Dreams of the junkyard, towers of cars crashing down. Tommy laughing from the cab of a cherry-red Mustang, Dad's voice echoing from the crusher. Family first.
So.
Woke to rain lashing the window. The kind of gray deluge that turns Lake Erie into a monster.
Checked out at dawn.
Hit a Denny's for grand slams and black coffee. Eavesdropping on truckers griping about diesel prices and EV mandates killing their jobs. Felt like home. By noon, I was back on the road, looping south toward the old yard in Youngstown. Not because I believed Tommy, hell no, but because loose ends fray. And I needed to tie them before the feds started sniffing my parole officer's ass. Russo's auto salvage looked the same on the outside, chain-link fence topped with razor wire. Stacks of hulks baking under the overcast sky. A faded sign creaking in the wind. But inside, it was gentrified hell. Solar panels on the office roof. Recycling bins labeled e-waste heroes. A kiosk for customers to scan QR codes for sustainable parts. Tommy's touch. Turning Dad's grit into Instagram bait. I slipped through a gap in the fence. Boots crunching gravel. Heart pounding like a V8 on the red line. The office was locked. but the window latch was loose, childhood habit.
Inside.
The air was stale with printer ink and ambition. Files on the desk. Invoices. Tax returns. All squeaky clean. But in the bottom drawer, behind the hanging folders, a lockbox. Picked it with a paperclip from the desk. Prison skill number 1. Inside, flash drive, ledger, and a photo me and Tommy, arms slung around each other at 16, grinning like idiots in front of Dad's 72 Chevelle. Plug the drive into an ancient desktop, screen flickering to life. Password? Tried family first. Bingo. Folders upon folders. Offshore. Chops. Cleanup. Emails from 2011. Tommy to some suit in Miami. Got the parts moving. Jake's clueless. He'll sign off. Then. 2013. Post plea. Appreciate the silence. Wired the bonus. And photos me in orange. Visiting day. Tommy on the other side of the glass. Mouthing sorry. Rage boiled up. Hot and familiar. I smashed the monitor with a desk lamp, glass shattering like my illusions. That's when I heard the crunch outside, tires on gravel. Ducked low. Peered through blinds. Black SUV. Tinted windows. 2 guys in windbreakers stepping out. Feds, or Tommy's muscle, didn't wait to find out. Slipped out the back. Into the maze of cars. Heart slamming. They were thorough, flashlights sweeping. Radios crackling. Perimeter clear, but office is tossed. One voice. Gravelly. Boss said check the ledgers. Russo's got skeletons.
Boss.
Not Tommy. Someone bigger. I ghosted through the yard, using the stacks for cover like I had as a kid playing hide and seek. Climbed into an old Bronco shell. Crouched low. Breath shallow. Minutes stretched. Then the SUV peeled out. Safe, for now. But the hook was set. Tommy wasn't just a thief, he was a cog in something uglier. Cartel ties? Chop shop rings bleeding into human trafficking whispers I'd heard in prison? The candle wasn't just for him anymore. It was lighting shadows I never knew were there. Drove to a dive bar on Market Street, the Steel City Tavern, where the jukebox still spun Springsteen and the bartender poured without questions. Nursed a Jack and Coke. Sketched notes on a napkin. Players. Timelines. Kendra texted again. He's out of surgery. Asking for you. Says it's about Dad.
Dad.
The cancer ward. His last rasp. Protect the family.
Jake.
No matter what. I'd thought it was the junkyard.
Now?
Maybe something buried deeper. Night fell hard. Streetlights buzzing like angry hornets. I lit another candle in my motel window that night. Back in Akron. Watched it burn. Wondering if Tommy was staring at his own from the hospital bed. Me throbbing. Lies unraveling. Payback wasn't a shot anymore. It was a unraveling. Thread by thread. But as I drifted off to the rain's rhythm, a knock echoed soft, insistent. Cracked the door. Chain on. There stood an old man. Fedora pulled low. Rain dripping from the brim. Eyes like chipped flint.
Jacoby Russo.
Name's Harlan. Your granddad sent me. Granddad.
Poppy Russo.
The bootlegger who'd smuggled hooch during Prohibition. Vanished after Dad was born. Family legend. Dead in a ditch somewhere. But this ghost said otherwise. He ain't dead.
Boy.
And he's got the truth you've been burning that candle for. The world tilted. I unchained the door. Let him in. Harlan shook off his coat. Smelled like pipe tobacco and old secrets. Sat at the rickety table.
Pulled a flask.
Story starts in 68. Your pop, your dad, wasn't the hero you think. Harlan poured the whiskey neat. The amber liquid glugging into mismatched motel glasses like confessions too long damned. He was pushing 70, maybe, with a face mapped by wrinkles that told of bar fights and backroom deals. Hands scarred from wrenches or worse. Vito Russo, your granddad, didn't vanish.
Jake. He walked.
After the war. After the rackets dried up. Left your grandma with a bun in the oven and a stack of cash she never touched. Said it was tainted. I sipped. The burn grounding me. The candle flickered on the sill, casting long shadows that danced like accusations. Why now? Why me? Harlan's laugh was gravel. Because Tommy's digging where he shouldn't. That yard? It's sitting on old tunnels, bootleg runs from the lakes to the river. Vito buried more than booze down there. And your brother's greed? It's cracking the seal. Tunnels. The junkyard had always felt hollow underfoot, sinkholes swallowing tires now and then. Dad never talked pop. Just that photo on the mantel. Stern Italian in a pinstripe suit. Eyes like Tommy's, sharp. Scheming. What did he bury?
Truths.
The kind that get men killed. Harlan leaned in, voice dropping. 1968. Youngstown was a powder keg. Unions bleeding the mills. Mobs shaking down the bosses. Vito ran with the Cleveland family numbers. Girls. The works. But he crossed Caruso.
The dawn.
Stole a shipment heroin, cut with fentanyl avant la lettre. Caruso's boy ended up OD'd in a ditch. Vito took the heat. But instead of whacking him, Caruso made a deal. Vito disappears. Leaves the stash. Family untouched. I pictured it. Granddad slipping away under cover of night. Suitcase in hand. Mom's mom left to raise Dad on welfare checks and whispers. Dad knew. Harlan nodded. Raised him on it. Protect the family. Code for guard the secret. When the junkyard went up in 85, Vito deeded the land anonymous. A ghost provision. Blood Russo keeps it, or it burns. He tapped the flask. Your pop, Dad, skimmed to pay off old debts.
Tommy?
He found the tunnels last year. Started pulling crates, artifacts,
Cash.
God knows what. Selling to collectors. Fences. But Caruso's grandkids? They're still around. Philly mob now. But blood remembers. The pieces slotted, Tommy's sudden green pivot. The SUV goons. Not feds, family. My knee-shot brother wasn't just a thief. He was a grave robber. Dancing on ancestors' bones. And me? Why, Dad, make me the fall guy. Harlan's eyes softened. Almost pity. You were clean.
Tommy.
He was always Vito's echo. Charmer with a knife twist. Your pop thought prison would toughen you. Make you the guardian. But Tommy flipped the script. Like always. Rage and grief tangled. A knot in my chest. I'd borne the cross for ghosts I never met. Blew out the candle. Room plunging dark. Where's Granddad now? Close. Waiting for the right night. Harlan stood. Dropped a card, unmarked. Just a phone number. Call when you're ready to dig. But Jake? This ain't just revenge. It's reckoning. He ghosted into the rain. Taillights fading like a bad dream. I lay awake. Mind racing circuits. Tunnels under the yard. Mob shadows lengthening. Tommy's grin masking fangs. Morning brought a headache and resolve. Ditched the motel. Hit a hardware store in Warren. Shovel.
Headlamp.
Bolt cutters. Then, the old public library. Dusty archives on microfiche. Youngstown mob wars. Caruso hits. Vito Russo listed as missing. Presumed deceased. By dusk, I was back at the yard. Fence snipped. Slipping into the gloaming like a thief in my own legacy. The stacks loomed. Silent sentinels. Found the old foreman shack. Floorboards pried loose with the crowbar. Beneath, dirt floor. A rusted hatch. Heart hammering. I wedged it open. Stale air rushed up. Thick with mold and malice. Descended into black. Beam cutting swaths. Tunnels snaked. Concrete reinforced. Prohibition ghosts. Rusted barrels. Faded labels. Moonshine special. Deeper. Collapsed sections. But then a chamber. Crates stamped Fragile Italy. Pride one not booze. Ledgers in Italian. Photos Vito with suited men. A young Caruso. Arms linked like brothers before the betrayal. And at the bottom, a deed. Yellowed. Vito's scrawl. To my blood, guard or forfeit. Footsteps echoed. Crunch of gravel above. Flashlight off. Breath held. Voices filtered down. Muffled. Russo kids onto it. Harlan confirmed. Philly accents. Thick as cheesesteaks. Grab the crates. Boss wants M stateside by Friday. They dropped in 2. Maybe 3, beams sweeping. I pressed into shadow. Shovel gripped like a club. Closest one paused.
Sniffed.
Smell that? Like wet dog. Now, I thought. Lunging. Shovel cracked skull. Wet thunk. He dropped. Groan cut short. Second spun. Pistol whipping out too slow.
Tackled him.
Fist to throat. Choke hold from prison days. Gurgle. Then limp. Third bolted for the ladder. Nailed him with a thrown crate. Wood splintering. Body crumpling. Panted in the dark. Adrenaline sour. Zip-tied them with cutter's spare wire. Gagged with rags. Dragged to a side tunnel. Buried under debris. Not dead yet. But message sent. Hauled a ledger topside. Slipped away as sirens wailed distant. My handiwork or theirs. Back in the motel, new one. In Niles, I pored over the book by candlelight. Names. Dates. Vito's double-cross detailed. Caruso's revenge plot foiled by a mole. Harlan? And there, in red ink, Jacob, born '02. The anchor.
Me.
The bloodline's end. Or salvation. Tommy's texts piled up. Jake. Where are you? It's bigger than us. Dad's secret, tunnels. Mob coming. Flip again. Rat or repent. Called the number. Harlan. Digs on. Midnight. Full moon. Pops waiting. The candle relit. Flame steady. Reckoning wasn't payback. It was inheritance dark. Disputed. All American. Midnight found me at the yard's far edge, where the fence met the Mahoning River, brown water churning under a bloated moon, carrying the sins of steel towns downstream to Cleveland's pretense. Harlan waited in a battered F-150, engine idling like a guilty conscience. Load up, he grunted, nodding to the truck bed. Shovels. Picks. A chainsaw for roots. Tunnels connect to the riverbank. Old escape route. We drove the access road. Headlights off. bumping over ruts that jarred my fillings. The air hummed with cicadas. Summer's last gasp thick and oppressive. Parked at a copse of willows. Dragged gear down a eroded path, mud sucking at boots. River whispering secrets. Harlan led, machete hacking brush, until a concrete slab emerged, camouflaged by overgrowth.
Here.
Vito's bolt hole. Pried it with bars. Hinges screaming protest. Dropped into damp dark. Headlamps blooming yellow pools. The tunnel widened here. Arched like a catacomb. Walls etched with faded graffiti, names, dates, a crude cross. Bootlegger's Bible, Harlan muttered. Prayers for the hall. We hacked forward, roots clawing like fingers. Sweat-stung eyes, breaths ragged. An hour in, the chamber, larger than the last, lit by our beams like a stage. Crates everywhere, dozens plus a desk, rusted, papers scattered. And, in the corner, slumped against the wall, a man.
Old.
Wiry. White hair wild. Eyes closed. Alive, chest rising shallow. Vito, I breathed. Grandad. Not a legend, but flesh wrinkled, frail, smelling of earth and endurance. Harlan knelt, shook him gentle.
Boss.
Company's here. Vito's eyes cracked, blue. Faded, but sharp as shattered glass. Fixed on me. Held. Jacob. The candle. Saw it in the city. Knew you were ready. I dropped to knees. Dirt grinding. You left us. For what? This. Gestured wild at the shadows. His laugh wheezed. Phlegm rattle. For you.
Idiota.
Caruso's curse. Blood for blood. I vanished to draw the heat. Your dad. He guarded the stash. Paid the toll. But Tommy, always the wild card. Found the map last spring. Started selling. Woke the beast. Harlan fetched water from a canteen. Vito sipping slow. Stories spilled like the river outside. 68. The heist, not theft, but rescue. Caruso's dope ring poisoning the Valley kids. Vito. Ex-mob but conscience gnawing. Spiked the shipment with bad cut. OD'd the lieutenants to cripple it. Caruso raged.
Voved Russo genocide.
Vito's out. Fake death. Tunnels as vault for evidence. Ledgers. Tapes. Proof to bury the dawn if they came. Lived underground decades. Harlan his shadow. Emerging only to watch bloodline from afar. And me taking the fall? My voice cracked. Boy lost in man. Vito's hand, calloused. Trembling gripped mine. Your pop's choice. Thought prison would forge you. Like it did me in Alcatraz 42. Tommy. He promised to confess. Then flipped. Sold the evidence piecemeal to Caruso's heirs for peace.
But they want it all now.
Total. Erasure. The yard. Us ghosts. Fury surged. Hot. Then we end it.
Tonight.
Vito shook head. No guns. Jacob. Truth's the weapon. Tapes in the desk. Caruso confessing hits.
Bribes. Fed em anonymously.
They crumbled in 75. But copies. Leverage. We worked feverish. Crates inventoried. Gold coins from Prohibition heists. Bonds. A Picasso sketch smudged but real. Evidence box. Cassettes.
Docs.
Harlan rigged charges. Dynamite from a quarry contact. Timer set. Collapse it all. No traces. But voices echoed, distant. Boots on concrete. Flashlights bobbed entrance ward. Philly, Harlan hissed. Tip off.
Panic spiked.
Vito slow. I half-carried him deeper. To a side vein, river exit. Water lapping black. Harlan covered. Shotgun barking boom echoing. Screams answering.
Go.
I'll hold. We splashed into current. Cold shocking lungs. Drag Vito to a sandbar half-mile down. Collapsed gasping. Gunfire popped faint. Then silence. Harlan? Sacrifice or survivor? Dawn broke bloody. Us huddled in an abandoned mill. Vito wrapped in my jacket. Called Tommy's burner, voicemail. It's Jake. Tunnels empty. Meet at the old bridge.
Noon.
Bring Kendra and the kid.
No cups.
He showed, limping. Crutch under arm. Family in tow. Kendra pale. Toddler on hip, wide-eyed.
Jake.
What the hell? Family meeting, I said. Vito stepping from shadows. Gasps rippled. Tommy blanched. Pop?
You're alive.
Disappointed.
Son.
Vito's voice steel. You sold us out. For what? A Tesla in the garage. Tommy crumbled. Spilling. Found the map in Dad's Bible. Thought it treasure hunt. Sold trinkets to a fence. Who flipped to Philly. I was fixing it. Wired them off. Liar. I pressed play on the portable cassette player. Caruso's voice tinny. Russo's dead meat. Kid or no? Proof of the curse. Kendra clutched the boy tighter. What now? We run. Vito's eyes on me. Jacob decides. Guardians call. Tension coiled. Bridge creaking under us like judgment. Tommy begged. Bro. Forgive. Like family does. Forgive? The word soured. But the kid's face, mini-me, innocent, tugged. We burn the rest. Together. End it. Nods. Reluctant. Back to the yard. Dynamite placed. Philly remnants sniffed, SUVs circling. We fled as earth shook, tunnels imploding in thunder. Dust plume rising like a funeral pyre. Safe house in Pittsburgh. Harlan waiting, winged but walking. Charges dropped on your bro's fraud. Feds got the tip. Caruso files. Twist, Tommy's fix was real. He confessed partial to a crooked cop. Trading evidence for immunity. But Philly double-crossed. Forcing his flip. Polarization hit. Was Tommy villain or victim? Schemer saving skin. Or desperate dad? I stared at the candle on the table. Flame mocking. Payback tasted ash. Pittsburgh welcomed us like a prodigal son with a hangover, hilly streets slick with autumn rain, bridges arching over the Allegheny like veins pumping industrial blood. We holed up in Harlan's bolt hole, a converted warehouse loft in the Strip District. Exposed brick hiding steel beams scarred from the 80s mill strikes. Smelled like coffee roasts from the markets below and the faint tang of gun oil. Vito claimed the pull-out couch. His wheeze a metronome to our unease. Tommy paced. Crutch thumping. Kendra rocked the kid, little Marco. Named after some uncle I'd never met, in a corner playpen scavenged from Craigslist. Immunity don't mean shit if Philly's sniffing, I said, unloading the evidence box on the scarred oak table. Cassettes stacked like poker chips. Ledgers fanned out. Harlan brewed Folgers strong. Black as the Monongahela at midnight. Feds'll bury it deep. But your brother's mess? That's on us to clean. Tommy shot me a glare. Pain and pride mixing. My mess? You shot my goddamn leg.
Jake.
We're even now. Even? Laughter barked out. Bitter. 12 years for your crypto wet dream. Mom's grave cold because of it.
Nah. Tommy.
We're just starting overtime. Vito coughed. Waving feeble.
Basta.
Blood don't tally scores. It binds. But his eyes, on Tommy, held the flip. Disappointment laced with that old Russo charm. The kind that forgave too easy. Days blurred into a tense détente. Mornings, Harlan and me hitting the markets for prosciutto and provolone. Blending into the vendor crowds, steelworker ghosts hawking peppers. Afternoons, Vito schooling Marco in broken English Italian. Fables of foxes and grapes. While Kendra scrolled Zillow for escape routes. Nights, Tommy and me. Whiskey-fueled interrogations. Why the tunnels? Really? I'd press. He'd flip. First offensive, survival.
Man.
Bills piling. Kendra's boutique tanking post-COVID. Then confessional. Found Dad's letter. Guard the secret or lose the soul. Thought I was guarding. Lies layered. But crack showed. One night, third glass in, he admitted the fence. Philly underboss. Vinny Caruso's nephew. Third-generation grudge. Sold a crate for $50K. Quick cash. Then he wanted more. Hooked me. Hooked. The curse evolved, not bullets. But debt. The American way. Credit traps for the working stiff. I saw it then. Tommy not mastermind.
But Mark.
Schemer flipping to survivor. Decisions controversial as hell. Sell family ghosts for formula? Polarizing. Part of me envied his hustle. Part wanted round 2 on the knee. Twist crept in slow. Vito. Fading faster than we'd hoped. Pneumonia from the damp. Whispered to me alone. Jacob. The Real anchor ain't evidence. It's the will. Pulled a envelope from his shirt. Handwritten. 1985. Dad's scrawl. To my sons, yard's yours. But the debt's mine. Vito's stash pays Caruso's toll yearly. Tommy knows.
Debt.
Dad hadn't skimmed for lights. He'd paid protection.
Silent.
Tommy inherited. Flipped it to profit, embezzled the payoff fund. That's what the feds chased. My fall? Cover for the real crime. Hiding the mob tithe. Rage flipped to nausea. You let me rot for that? Vito's grip tightened. Choice was yours. Strength tested.
Strength.
Prison forged it. But at what cost? I stormed out. Riverwalk under sodium glow. Fists clenched. Called the parole officer, burner trace, confessed the shooting. Self-defense twist. Hung up. Free fall. Back. Chaos. Philly hit the loft. Glass shattered. Suppressed pops, Harlan down. Gut shot. Kendra screaming. Marco wailing. Tommy flipped hero. Grabbed Vito's old Luger from a beam Heidi. Winged one intruder. Bought us seconds. We piled into the F-150. Tires screeching into night. Harlan bleeding in the bed. Tarp wrapped. Emerged in Wheeling. West Virginia, Rivertown. Casinos blinking temptation. Motel anonymity. Doc on Harlan's payroll stitching him crude. Through, he grunted. But Philly's circling. Vinny wants the will. Proves the debt's paid. Curse lifts.
Will.
The envelope burned in my pocket. Tommy eyed it. Hand it over.
Jake.
I negotiate. Family rep. Flip again, trust him? The brother who'd sold me out. Or the one shielding his son. Kendra pleaded. He's changed. For Marco. Polarization peaked. Readers would split. Tommy redeemable hustler? Or serial betrayer? I stared at the candle in the window. Flame mocking choices. Blew it out. We all go. Face Vinny. End the ledger. Dawn drive to Philly. 5 hours of silence broken by Vito's tales. Bootleg runs. Love lost to the life. Arrived suburbs. Vinny's estate. McMansion fortress. Guards at gates. We rolled up bold. White flagged the will. Vinny 50s. Slick suit. Caruso jaw, met us poolside. Goons shadowing. Russo ghosts. Amusing. Scanned the will.
Laughed.
Debt cleared 85. Pop's joke. Paid in full when Vito vanished. Twist gut punched, no curse. Dad's payments?
Fabrication.
Vito's escape freed us. The tithe, a myth to keep sons vigilant. Tommy's sales? Unnecessary folly.
Grid pure.
Vinny shrugged. Keep your trinkets. But Harlan? He was ours. Mole since 68. Harlan. Betrayer. Flipped from the start, fed Vito's location to Philly for scraps. In the truck, he'd whispered coordinates.
Trap.
We bolted, but goons swarmed. Shootout erupted. Tommy took a graze. Vito shielding Marco. Me dropping 2. Fled bloody. Well, ashes in the wind. Back in Ohio. Harlan confessed dying words. Had to. Caruso owned me.
But you.
Free now. Vito passed that night. Peaceful. Funeral small. Riverview. Tommy and I. Arms slung like kids. Staring water. Forgive, he asked.
Not yet, I said.
But the candle relit in my new window. Cleveland high-rise gig waiting. Payback? Ambiguous. Family? Fractured. But standing. Cleveland hit different post-reckoning. Lake Erie's sprawl a mirror to my fractured reflection. Wind off the water whipping regrets into froth. We scattered ashes at Edgewater Park. Vito's earned cheap pottery from a Walmart run. Tommy and I shoulder to shoulder like pallbearers at our own funeral. Kendra held Marco. Eyes red-rimmed but resolute. Whispering, Nano's watching now. The kid babbled at the gulls. Oblivious to the ghosts we'd buried with the old man. Back to realities. Tommy's knee mended slow. Physical therapy in a VA clinic that reeked of bureaucracy and Benghazi. He flipped the script again, sold the remaining yards to a legit recycler. Pocketed enough for Kendra's boutique revival and a trust for Marco. Clean break, he said over diner eggs. Voice salesman smooth. You in? Partner on a new venture, EV salvage. Green gold. Bro.
Partner.
The word dangled like bait. Part of me itched for it. The Russo grit reborn. Welding batteries instead of bumpers. Chasing the American hustle 2.0. But trust? Shattered as that office monitor. Maybe. After you come clean. Full confession to me. The feds. Whoever. His fork paused. Yoke breaking.
Jake.
The shooting. Philly. It's buried. Dig it up. We all drown.
Drown. Apt.
The river of our lives, Mahoning. Allegheny. Cuyahoga, toxic with spills we couldn't contain. I walked out. Left him the check. Drove to my studio. The candle waiting. Wick black, but stubborn. Weeks ground on. tension coiling like a bad suspension. Parole lifted, shooting ruled justifiable. Anonymous tip, but shadows lingered. Anonymous emails pinged the burner. Russo blood runs thin. Debts eternal. Philly echoes? Or Harlan's ghost? Flipping posthumous? I hit the range. .38 barking lead into paper targets. Each pop a punctuation to unresolved. Kendra called one drizzly Thursday. He's spiraling.
Booze.
Pills. Says you're the only one who gets it.
Gets it.
The betrayal's echo. I caved. Met him at a dive on West 6th, neon luckies buzzing. Jukebox crooning Dylan about tangled vines. Tommy hunched at the bar. Crutch propped. Eyes hollowed. Missed you.
Mun.
After everything. We drank slow. Stories spilling. His marriage cracks. Kendra's ultimatums. Marco's first steps he almost missed doped on oxys. Then the flip. I knew about the will. Vito told me in a dream. Bullshit. Right? But it felt real. Debt's a lie. But the guilt? That's the chain.
Guilt.
My own nod, prison not just for fraud, but for buying the family myth hook. Line. Sinker. We'd both borne crimes. Mine innocent. His complicit. Polarizing decisions stacked. His skim for family, my shot for justice. Who was the villain? Schemer or scapegoat? Midnight found us at the river. Bottles shared. Candle from my pocket lit on a bench, flame defiant against the breeze. To pop, Tommy toasted.
And Dad.
Bastards. Both. Laughter cracked the ice. But sirens wailed, cops. Lights flashing. Russo? Hands up.
Bust.
Tommy's prints on a Philly gun from the loft hit. Traced back.
Me?
Accessory whispers. We went quiet. Cuffs cold. Jail was county this time. Familiar stink of bleach and despair. Shared cell. Bunks creaking. Tommy above. Whispering down. Flip for me?
Jake.
Testify it was self. I'll take the fall. Echo of 2012. History's cruel loop.
No.
We face it square. Trials converged. His racketeering. Mine assault. Feds wheeled in the will facsimile. Vito's joke exposed. Philly crumbling under Rico. Vinny flip states. Ratting kin for leniency. Harlan's mole roll. Buried in plea deals. Courtroom drama peaked. Tommy on stand. Flipping testimony. Jake saved us. Hero. Judge balked. Controversial as hell. Perjury whiff. I testified truth. He betrayed. But blood's thicker than lead. Hung jury for me. Tommy pled out. 5 years federal. Kendra visited. Marco's drawing clutched. Stick figures. Candle glowing.
He's sorry.
We wait. Out on my own recognizance. World tilted. Took the EV gig solo, salvaging Teslas in Detroit's ghost factories. Welding futures from husks. Lit the candle nightly. Not for signal, but ritual. Tommy wrote from inside. Oh, you eternity. Flip the yard to green, your name. Temptation tugged. Payback's end? Ambiguous victory, him caged. Me free but hollow. Debates raged in my head. Deserved cage for the snake. Or tragic flip for the flawed brother. One night. Power out. Candle's soul light. Knock came.
Doorkrijgt, Kendra.
Rain soaked. Marco asleep in arms. He said come to you.
F. F.
The word hung. I stepped aside.
Let them in.
Flame danced. Shadows softening. Revenge? Fulfilled. Fractured. Family? Reclaimed. On controversial terms. Time in the cage warps like heat haze over asphalt. Days bleed to weeks. The concrete jungle's rhythm a grindstone on the soul. Tommy settled into USP Lewisburg, Pennsylvania's gray fortress, where cons traded fentanyl stamps for favors and guards turned blind for 20s. His letters came regular at first, block print on lined paper. Jim's brutal on the knee. But I'm lifting. Thinking of the river. Stay strong. Guardian. Guardian. Vito's ghost word. Now irony's crown. I built in Cleveland Russo green salvage. A nod twisted. Shop on the east side. Near the revitalized flats. Where hipsters sipped IPAs amid old rail yards. Welded battery packs by day. The ark's blue spit mirroring inner sparks, nights. Poured over books, criminal psych from the library. Self-help drivel on forgiveness that tasted like chalk. Kendra and Marco crashed weekends. Her boutique limping but alive. Selling boho threads to tech bros invading the warehouse district. He's clean, she'd say. Eyes hopeful. Says the cage is his candle, burning time to atone. Atone. Controversial concept in a country built on second chances for the connected, life sentences for the cornered.
Philly crumbled, vie nièce empirique OD.
Assets seized for victim funds, kids from the Valley OD'd in the 60s, ghosts compensated late. Harlan's widow got a check. Anonymous, she burned it on his grave. Per tradition. My own hauntings peaked fall 25, anniversary of the shot. Drove to Youngstown. Yard now a community garden, tomatoes twisting where cars crushed. Stood at the old office site. Weeds choking foundations. Felt Dad's limp echo in my step. Lit a candle there. Wax pooling on cracked concrete. Wind snuffed it quick. Sign not done. Tommy's flip came midwinter. Package arrived. No return. Inside, flash drive. Like the first. Password candle. Videos him in the yard. Post me. Confessing to a hidden cam. I framed Jake. For the debt that wasn't. Forgive him.
God. Me?
Burn. Time-stamped pre-sentencing. Attach note. Leak if you want payback final. Or bury. Your call. Polarization's knife edge. Leak it. Destroy him utterly. Perjury piled on racketeering. Life without.
Bury?
Let the cage refine. Family intact. Debated nights. Candle staring back. Kendra found out. Confronted. He's broken.
Jake.
Don't be the monster. Monster. Mirror word. My shot. The goons buried. Vito's death on my watch. Hands not clean. Called the feds tip line. Anonymous. Russo confession. Check Lewisburg mail logs. Hung up. Gut churning. Fallout swift. Hearing yanked Tommy early. Solitary for tampering. Letters stopped. Kendra iced me out. Marco's visit ceased. You flipped us, she texted. For what? Ghosts.
Ghosts.
The Russo chain. Vito's vanish. Dad's myth. Tommy's greed. My vengeance. All flips in the dark. I shuttered the shop temporary. Hit the road cross-country haul. Freight from coast to coast. Sleeping in the cab under stars unpolluted by mill smoke. California first. LA's sprawl. Palm shadows on freeways. Hauling citrus crates that bruised easy. Met a vet in Barstow. Traded prison yarns over diner pie.
Revenge?
It's a circle jerk.
Man.
Ends with you alone. Truth stung. Midwest Loop. Chicago winds howling off the loop. Stacks of Windy City steel evoking Youngstown ghosts. Drunk dialed Tommy's prison line, voicemail, Guardian. Heard the leak. Knew you'd choose truth. Cage is fair.
Love ya. Love.
The ultimate flip. Back east. Spring thaw. I reopened Russo's solo. But hired vets. Second chancers. Kendra thawed slow. Coffee meet.
No Keith.
He's transferring to low SEC. Good behavior. Says thanks for the push.
Push.
My leak as catalyst. Controversial mercy. Destroy to rebuild. We danced around it. Tension electric. Climax brewed summer. Parole board hearing for Tommy. Me character witness. Drove to Lewisburg. Gates clanging like judgment.
Courtroom stark.
Him in orange. Leaner. Eyes clear. Testified. He betrayed. I shot him for it. But he's family. Flawed as me. Board split, 2 for release. 1 against. Vigilantism taints. Polarizing to the end. Granted. 3 years off. Out by fall. Pickup day. Gates swung. Tommy stepping free. Crutch gone. Grin crooked. Hugged fierce. Ribs creaking.
Guardian.
Candles lit, I said. Drove to Cleveland. Kendra waiting with Marco, now 4. Gap-toothed. Dinner, takeout ribs. Story sanitized for the kid. But twist lingered. In his pocket. A crumpled photo, Vito. Young. Arm around a woman, not grandma. Note back. The real anchor? Your aunt. Alive in Sicily. Come find. Bloodline flip final. Secrets deeper. Debts unpaid. Debate eternal. Chase or let burn. Fall 25 painted Cleveland in rust and gold. Leaves crunching under tires like brittle bones. Lake Erie churning gray under skies that promised snow but delivered sleet. Tommy reintegrated smooth. Bunked in my spare room. The loft over the shop a crash pad of exposed ducks and secondhand leather. Days. He shadowed me in the yard, salvaging leaves and bolts. His banter light. Flips muted to quips. This battery's got more juice than my ex's alimony demands. Nights. We'd crack beers on the fire escape. City lights winking below. Marco's laughter filtering from Kendra's place 2 blocks over, reconciled.
Tentative.
The aunt twist nod.
Though.
Sicily. Vito's note a breadcrumb trail to Pandora's olive grove. We go, Tommy declared one crisp evening. Candle flickering on the sill. Our ritual now. Wicks multiplied for the lost. Blood calls. Kendra balked. Another hole? We've clawed out of enough. But Marco's eyes, wide. Pleading adventure. Daddy. Tipped it. Booked flights cheap. Ryanair roulette to Palermo. Crash pad at agriturismo in the hills. Vineyards rolling like green waves. Air thick with sea salt and secrets. Landed amid chaos. Airport touts hawking taxis. Espresso shots strong as absolution.
Rente da Fiat.
Beat up but ballsy. Wound mountain roads to Taormina, cliffs dropping to bluer than blue Ionin. Ruins whispering empire's dust. The farm, stone villa crumbling graceful. Grapes heavy on trellises. Owner. A wiry nana named Rosa, Vito's sister, eyes like his. Flinty, greeted cautious.
Russo.
From America? Over limoncello that burned holy. Stories uncoiled. Aunt Lucia, Vito's twin. fled 68 with him, but diverged stayed in Italy. What a fisherman. Buried the mob past under laundry lines and lullabies. He wrote, Rosa said, pulling letters yellowed as the will of sons. Debts paid in silence. Lucia arrived dusk. 60s maybe. Silver-streaked hair.
Fisherman Stan.
Hugged Tommy first, Nipote, then me.
Fierce.
Jacob. The candle-bearer. Over Postacon Sard. The final flip, Vito hadn't vanished alone. Lucia carried the real evidence, not crates, but a daughter, hidden from Caruso's reach. My cousin? No, Tommy's. Alleged from a valley fling. Smuggled out pre-plea. Twist detonated. Tommy blanched. Limoncello spilling. Me? A half-sis. Lucia nodded. Producing photo. Girl. 18 now. Studying in Rome. Dark curls.
Russo Jal.
Your father's wild card. Protected her from the curse. Controversy crested. Tommy's greed, not just greed. Subconscious shield for unknown blood? Or coincidence cruel? I watched him fracture. Joy. Guilt. The schemer stripped. All my flips. For shadows. We met her, Elena, in a Trastevere trattoria. Cobblestones slick with rain.
Shy.
Brilliant, art history major. Debating Caravaggio shadows like vendettas. Hugged awkward, but real. Zio Jake. Nano's tales, candles guiding ghosts. Family ballooned. Disputed borders. Back stateside. Tommy flipped entrepreneurial. Russo imports. Sicilian olives and wines. Greenwashing legit. Kendra warmed to Elena's visits. Skype calls turning to tickets. Marco idolized his cool auntie, drawing flames and figures. But Climax's echo, Philly remnant, a low-level goon. Surfaced in Cleveland bar fight. Tommy's name dropped. Caruso says hi. Loose ends. I handled it range invite. .38 conversation. Ends here. Or yours does. He flipped informant. Last thread snipped. Feds closed book. Ending teetered. Holiday dinner. Russo clan crammed. Kendra's folks eyeing Tommy wary. Elena zooming from Rome. Marco lighting candles at each plate. Laughter mingled with toasts. To flips. To flames. Outside. Snow fell soft. Bearing the rust. Payback? Fulfilled in forgiveness's gray. Tommy pulled me aside. You saved us. Guardian true. I clapped his shoulder. Candle tattoo itching. We saved each other. Blood's the debate. No tidy bow, readers split. Redemption arc or relapse waiting. Happy? In the fractures. Tragic? In the scars. But the window candle burned steady, guiding whatever ghosts came next. America's rhythm. Tense.
UM.
Eternally flipping toward dawn.